Hi, everyone. Welcome to Unleash Her. I'm Roberta, and I'm your host for the podcast today. And I am so grateful that you're here. And I cannot wait to introduce you to my guest today, Miss Kay Oliver. She is a dynamic storyteller holding degrees in radio, TV, film from California State University, and she has an MBA in business. Now, hi, Kay. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing great. Thank you for
It,
having.
Thank you for being on here. I would like to tell everyone more about you, but actually, I would love to hear it from you. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. I'd be honored to. Um, I've always had a passion for writing or storytelling in one form or another. I got my degrees, as you mentioned, and I went and worked in Hollywood for about 3 decades, um, making films, writing screenplays, doing some short films, producing, directing, and truly enjoyed putting the story together. I love the editing part. I love bringing it all together. And what I found out was my screenplays were always strong, independent, intelligent women lead roles. And I heard a few times in Hollywood that those are great scripts, but women aren't marketable. So at one point, I decided if these stories are great, then why don't I try putting them into novels? And my first book, which was Disturbed Tombs, won 4 awards. So I knew I was onto something, and I know they're wrong.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh. Okay, I'm loving this so far.
yeah.
Yes.
I mean, there were battles in Hollywood that, you hear on TV now. A lot of things I wouldn't tell friends because you just wouldn't believe me if I told you. You'd be like, ugh, you know. And now that it's coming out, people are like, my closest friends knew. And they were like, oh, you were on the mark. And I'm like, I know, but other people don't understand. So, yeah, so that's why when I kept hearing that we're not marketable, we being women, I'm like, you don't market us correctly. You're not showing what we want to see. When you started to highlight women's basketball, look what happened. They had to get bigger arenas. They had to, now they're on the news every night. NFL missed the boat. For years, if you wanted a jersey, you had to get a men's jersey. So now, right now you can get female jerseys, everything, because I've been an NFL nut my whole life. I love football. And now it's even got into designer wear, right? So special jackets and outfits for women with team logos all over them. So, they missed the boat and a lot of money for a lot of years. So maybe, Hollywood will figure it out. Maybe not. I don't know.
Right? Well,
Right.
okay, so you weren't born in California.
Correct. I was born in Detroit, Michigan. Yeah.
Yes. Not too far from me, so yes. Um, so so you moved to California and you were ready, you started your career. That's
Yeah, actually, I moved out when I was younger because my dad got a job out here. So, yeah, I didn't move out here for the career. But since I was here, what the heck? Yeah,
wow, what a great place to be, huh?
yeah.
Sounds
It
like
was
you really dug in and did a lot. That's really exciting.
I've I've enjoyed every part of it. I mean, even though there's tough times and you have to pick your battles, as women to be empowered. One person asked me once, "Are you sorry that you picked those battles?" And I'm like, "No, because the women behind me needed me to fight those, or anybody else who fought the same battles. I'm not solo in it by any means." But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Do you so how many books do you have?
right now I have 12 out, and I'm on number 13, which I was writing yesterday. I think I'm on chapter 8 of that book. So
Whoa.
yeah.
Okay. I'm I'm so intrigued, and you've done so much, and I feel like I'm just kind of like getting started. So thank you for paving the way.
Oh, absolutely. And getting started is the hardest step. So perfect. Keep going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Do you find how we have this feeling that when you live in California that you must go to the beach and do your writing or something?
I like the beach and I like the mountains. So yes, I do get those urges. I don't do it as often as I would like, but mainly because I write for hours. So I have to bring an extra power pack if I'm going to do that because my computer lasts about 3 hours of solid on writing. So um, yeah, so I do love, I have been known to get away to a cabin and sit there because I can plug into the wall and watch the birds and feed the squirrels. And in fact, in one of my books, which I believe is Shooter's Treasure, she ends up buying a ranch and she goes outside in the morning and puts out the peanuts and watches the battle of the blue jays and the squirrels. And that's from my own experience. So
Yeah. Yeah, because that's for me. I get my inspiration through nature.
yes.
Yeah. So how do you get your inspiration?
I tell people you don't want to be in here. My first book came from a question. And I would say a lot of them come from questions. So my first book is why do we exhume all of the mummies we find in Sudan and Egypt? And are we disturbing their peace? Because we hold our graveyard sacred. Why do we think we can just unbury? I know people are like, well, for science. Well, I don't know about that. Do you need to pick up, exhume 20 bodies when you find 20 bodies? So that I attempted to answer in my first book. And it is fiction and it is a little on the paranormal side, but a little bit different than a normal paranormal topic. So
Ooh. So out of your 12 books so far, what has the most popular book been for you?
the most popular and the most awarded book,
Okay.
Road to Elysium. It has won 10 awards and also made Book of the Year, uh, the online book club. And that book, I think, has sold the most copies, and some people are looking at it for a movie. So it is based on, this one is an odd one out, interestingly enough. It is inspired by a true story. It is, I only have two books that have male characters that are leads. All of my other books, other 10 are all female leads. And it's about a man who meets a young boy who is fatherless due to his father dying at a young age on the other side of the tracks. And they become mentor, but Ken, the lead character of that book, is not the hero of the book because he has his faults, his struggles. He was in deep depression due to losing his wife and child, the only things that meant anything to him in the world. And a knee-jerk reaction when the young boy asks him, can you teach me how to play football? His knee-jerk reaction is to say yes, like this is a young man who needs some help. Yeah, but he doesn't realize that yes is about to change his life, Michael's life, the entire neighborhood's life. So just think of Gran Torino without all the violence, um, meets A Man Called Otto.
Ooh. So when was this book released?
Believe 2023.
Oh, so still fairly new. Okay.
Yeah. All my books, I didn't start writing all my books until COVID hit because now I didn't have to drive into LA and I acquired myself 2 to 3 hours a day because LA traffic's just wonderful. And which Musk years ago said he was going to solve, and he hasn't done that. And I thought, I'll start writing because I've got an extra few hours a day.
Right.
And I haven't stopped.
Oh my gosh. Well, I have been out there a few times, so I can relate to the traffic out there. And people complain around here about our traffic, and I'm like, okay, we have nothing.
No, it's 13 miles to LA. 13 miles, and it's taking me over an hour. So yeah.
Wow. But you do get the beauty out there, so that's nice.
Yes, we do have beauty. We
Yeah.
certainly do.
So now you continue to work every day working on your next the novel that you're working on now.
Yes.
Do you always have one? Do you work at one at a time? Because you can't.
I do. I do. I know some people say, "Oh, I've got several started." And I'm like, "There's no. I might have a second one in the back of my head, but I'm not touching it until I finish the book I'm on." So, and then when I send it to my editor, I start writing my next book. So at that
Yeah.
point, I'm working on two, but I don't consider that, doing two at one time per se.
Yeah. So your first thing is you have the idea, the
Yes.
inspiration, and do you like, write down like what the title is? Do you always know exactly what the title is and the chapters, and do they just kind of flow? Right. I see
Yeah,
what
they refer to people like me as pantsers. You do it by the seat of your pants. Um, I'm not 100% sure that I'm fully one of those because of my time in the movie industry. I can see the book in my mind like it's a movie. I don't write it like it's a movie, but I can see it like it's a movie. So I know I want to start here, I'm going to end here, and this stuff's going to happen as we move along. So I don't plot it out. I don't write it out. I do not know my titles. Um, Quite often, I have to get a good feel for the book before I come up with the title. Or my book in particular, Ice Cream Moments, was a line in my book I wrote. Oh, we're having some ice cream moments. And I went, that's the title. So, most often I get about at least halfway through before I start feeling it for a title.
Yeah.
So,
I can totally relate to that. When I was writing my book, that I co-authored with my daughter, I thought, well, we're talking about invisible injuries. So this was like our memoir of her accident and everything we went through, through that journey. And it hit me one day, the title. I was like, wait a minute. No, it's She Looks Fine, actually.
uh,
So, and
yeah,
when
that's great.
and everyone has said it is the perfect title. So, I love how that happens when you're given something like that. But given something like that, you have to be listening. You have to be open and listening, don't you?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
Feeling it out, being part of it. Yeah.
yeah, you really have to have an open mind, you yourself, for what you have been doing. I'm very impressed.
Thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
enjoy it. I enjoy it. So it's kind of hard to take compliments when this is something you absolutely enjoy. You know what I mean?
Did you like when you were little? I mean, did you enjoy writing?
When I was in sixth grade, I entered a speech contest, and they were not going to let me win because they thought my parents wrote my speech. I guess it was that good. And if you knew anything about my parents, you would know they had nothing to do with it. Yeah, I kind of had a narcissistic mother, so for her helping me with my homework was not a thing. So, at that point I knew that, I wanted to, I had a knack for it and I enjoy it.
Yeah, that you knew your gift
Yeah.
at that time. So many of us spend our lives looking for our gift.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, honestly, one could say I kind of did because I didn't really start writing until later, but working in Hollywood and crafting stories was a passion too. So it's still storytelling in a different format.
Do you think that can you teach others to be a good writer? Can it be
I have
taught?
a lot of, well, I'm a professor at the University of Staten for marketing, but people do come to me when they find out I'm a writer and ask me a lot of questions. And on my website, free, you don't have to give me your email or anything. My blog is all about writing tips. And like I said, the hardest part is starting, right? Getting time in your day, set up an area for you to write. And then the next thing you have to know is you don't perfect novels in the first draft at all. Great novels are made in the editing stage. So just write, write, write. Don't worry about what you're writing because you can go back and alter it and change it. And especially now, there's programs that you can use. Natural Reader is one that I tend to use to have the book read back to me. So you catch things that way that you don't think about. So it's a free program. It's called Natural Reader. And it's for people I think who, can't see. And but I use it to hear my books come back to me. In one of my books, I was astounded when I heard the audio version of it, Sisters in Cold Blood, because at the end of the book, they are reading off the names of the missing women who were actually killed by a serial killer back in 1909 or before. And I got moved because it sounded like I was at that event. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so moving in audio. So that is, so there's different things that you learn. Another thing I suggested, which I did do, is I started with novellas. A novella is a smaller book. It's like 40,000 words. And you just, write your idea and flesh it out. And for Disturbed Tombs, I actually wrote 5 novellas. And after I had I now know how to publish. I know I have a great graphic artist for my covers. I know how to format, and I've gone through all the stages 5 times. I feel comfortable. I merged them, and that was my first real book. And come to find out, famous writers like Stephen King and other writers flesh out ideas in novellas. I did not know that at the time. So
Whoa.
yeah, so writing a novella is you're still a writer, so don't underestimate that. If you can't come up with 50 to 60,000 words for a novel, try a novella. Just start fleshing out your ideas. And you can publish novellas. So you get feedback. I also important, and you probably know this too, is having people around you who support you no matter what, right? Not the naysayers. Bye bye, naysayers. I have great friends that didn't even tell me I had errors in my books. They're like, great, keep writing. And I'm like, later on, I'm like, that was full of errors. You didn't tell me. No, I wanted you to keep writing. So even though I had an editor, I didn't have the right editor. So you have to be careful of that too. So but I learned that. And now I'm, 12 books in and I have an understanding of what I need to do and be patient and take the time to, edit it yourself a couple of times, send it to the editor. They come back with notes, you edit again. And then I go through the natural reader. I can still catch stuff that even the editor might miss, no matter how, those stubborn typos that need to get awards just because I made it through 6 edit stages. Um, so don't be hard on yourself.
We, so with the book we wrote, we had the publishing company had their own editors. And so how many we got, there were 3 or 4 editors that we worked with. And it wasn't until the very end, and someone on the front page, she
Uh,
found, yeah, she found something that none of us saw because we just didn't read it right. And it says a mother and daughter's journey through, and we missed the letter A. We just missed
oh,
A, TBI, a traumatic brain injury, because it wouldn't have sounded right otherwise. So we were like, how did we miss that?
Because
Um,
we know what it's supposed to say. That's why.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. So how do you find a good editor? I mean, you just
You
keep
really,
trying.
I have a blog on that too. You
Okay.
definitely want to see that they're editing the kind of books that you write. You don't want to get an editor who doesn't read. If your editor is a sci-fi person, you don't want them reading your cozy mystery, obviously. So you need to get somebody who you know, I've worked with a few. And I finally landed on one who loves my way of storytelling. And that's what's important. So yes, there's going to be bumps and you know, people that you work with, and then you might go, I'm not going to work with them again. You know, I'm going to try somebody else. That's fine. There's no problem with that. But you definitely, you know, need to go through some editors that I had a male editor for the book Road to Elysium because I was concerned that I wasn't writing a man as a man being a woman, right? You know, like, okay, am I, you
Mhm.
know, putting my feminine feelings into the book on that character? I wanted to make sure that it was a male reading the book to make sure that, you know, Ken was presenting himself as Ken. So, you know, different things like that. And you might, you know, change up editors based on what you're writing. If you found someone who also had gone through invisible injuries like myself, and they're editing your book, they're going to, you know, totally understand what you're saying or trying to say, and they can give you more inspiration into the editing of the book. It just
Yeah,
makes sense. Yeah.
right. Absolutely. Yeah. So your website, you offer all of this free information for people.
Yes, absolutely do. So
And what
yeah,
is your website, Kay?
it is my name,
Okay.
KAYAOliver.com. And if you want to see those in particular, it's /blog. It is my blog. It's all about writing, building characters, the right editor, how much your cover matters, you know, when to end a story. Because some people keep on writing and they don't know when to stop. You know, that kind of stuff. So I have all of that on my website for free.
Okay.
You don't have to give me an email or nothing. You can go in and read them all.
Right. Okay. I love that. Do you also, so how do you feel about AI?
Ah, AI. So yes, do I use AI periodically? Absolutely do. I know there are people out there who are very writers who are very anti-AI, and my industry, movie industry, is somewhat anti-AI, very. And but AI is a tool like any other tool, like the reader tool. Um, it can inspire you, it can give you ideas. If you're stuck somewhere, it can help you. If you're having a hard time formatting a sentence, you might want to try AI to give you an idea. Oh, I didn't think about using that word. But it can't write a fictional book. It can't write the emotions. It can't write humanity. You know, my example I use often is, you know, that you might be talking and burp. That's very human. AI is not going to put that into the dialogue, you know, if you're, you know, it also stays on a certain path. And if you want to flip and do a twist, then you, the writer, have to do that. AI won't come up with, oh, they're really heading this direction. AI doesn't have that ability, at least at this time. So it can't write a fictional book, in my opinion. A how-to book, yeah, but you want to still double check it because it comes up with its own stuff, or people say it lies. But yeah, I've not been, there's no way I could write a fictional book using AI fully. So, but for inspiration, for ideas, it definitely helps me with ideas for my blog. What's another topic I haven't touched on yet? Those kind of things.
Yeah. Wow. You sound like you like to stay busy.
I do. I do. I am a cancer survivor.
Oh,
And when I went through it, I was released from my job, which means I also lost my insurance. I am a single woman. That means I lost my income and my insurance and had to battle cancer, which is not a 2-day event. It's a long time, and you still do after the fact. And I knew at that point I have to be busy. I cannot just stay home and watch TV because I was going nuts during that time. So I knew I'd always have to be busy doing something, for sure. So I've always been that way. And the other thing I like to do is a lot of research. Um, so when I picked Disturbed Tombs, or the recent one that just came out, A Powerful Disturbance, yeah, plug. I pick locations and things I've never experienced, or individuals, historical figures that, Dr. Kaylee Worthy reaches out to or gets in contact with paranormally. And I need to learn about those people. I needed to learn about Sudan. And I had a gentleman read my Disturbed Tombs who said, "You must have been to Sudan a few times." And I'm like, yeah, no, I have been on Google Maps and I have done my research and my homework. But yeah, so that also takes time, right? If you're going to do something with a background you know nothing about, and I choose that on purpose. So
Okay. See, I like that. I do a ton of research too, and I can stay busy 24/7 now.
yeah,
Totally. And I love it. I love learning. School, I didn't love school, but now as I get older, I want to know as much as I can. And it's then I have to get back and focus, you know.
right. I hear you. So it's really
So
nice. I can learn and focus at the same. Sorry about that.
you're good at multitasking,
Yes.
it sounds like. So, I read something about you, but I'm gonna ask you if you had to choose. She doesn't even know this. I'm gonna ask this, but if you could have a chat and you have to choose one, either Kevin Costner or Robert Redford, who would it be?
See, there's a bit of a problem there because I've met them both. Uh,
Ooh, you have?
yeah, I worked in the industry. Um, the first time I met Robert Redford, he was shooting a television show, which is not in his credits. So if you go to IMDb, International Movie Database, um, because back then you had to prove that you could direct before you could do a movie. It's not that way now. So originally I met him shooting this TV show, and then my first job was at Universal Studios, and the man was shooting Sneakers, the movie Sneakers. So I went over and talked to him. So yes, I've talked to both. Kevin Costner went to Cal State Fullerton, the same school I did, and I worked on Waterworld, and so I've spoken to him as well. So, but if right now today, uh, it's a toss up. I recently wrote a letter to Redford and he replied because um if you remember, I shortened the title of the movie, Molingo Binor, when he directed that movie. When I saw that movie originally, I did not realize that Robert Redford was the director because he's not in it, right? And the opening scene, I went, okay, who is directing this movie? I have to find out because I want to follow this director. And sure, it was Robert Redford. And from then on, I'd watch anything. Dark Winds is on right now. Dark Winds is a Robert Redford TV show. And not that he's directing it, but he has something to do with it. And the projects he picks are phenomenal. So I will watch anything he's attached to. He doesn't need to be in it. Um, and so, he wrote back, and I told him that you have technically been my mentor my whole life. You just, I've never told you that. And he wrote back and said, thank you. I mean, I really appreciate, you sharing that with me. Um, so Redford's a little older, so I would pick him because I still have a chance to talk to Cosner later on. So, and Cosner's turned into a phenomenal director and producer as well. So either one of those. Yeah, but I would pick Redford right now over the out of the two.
Oh my God, that's awesome. I assume you've met a lot.
Yes, I've met
Of,
a lot.
mhm. You just pass them on the street. They're just people,
They're just people. I try to tell that to people. And
right?
they're just people, and and I've seen them out of makeup, and they're really just people. And I even had a girlfriend who wanted to meet a celebrity who I knew. And I said, well, come with me. I'll introduce you because he was working on a stage just around the corner. And I walk up and I go, hi, I wanted to introduce you. And I turn around and my girlfriend's gone. And I said, where did you go? And she's like, I can't talk to him. I can't talk to him. And I'm like, seriously? Okay, you work here. You work at the studio. So it's happened to me a couple times. So I'm very um, shy about introducing friends to actors because even though I think I know how they're going to act or say something, they, kind of embarrass themselves. Um, 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 one one time, here's a fun one. I brought Billy Baldwin to a Shrek studio premiere. The young lady who was the head of marketing is Alex, right, with an X. And I brought him over to her, and I said, I want to introduce Billy to you, Alex. And she goes, Alec, it's so nice to meet you. And I go, no, you're Alex. This is Billy. He was like, what? Oh my God.
They get starstruck.
Yeah, they do, but they work in the studio. And I'm like, that just boggles my mind. So yeah.
Wow. Well, okay. Would you would you love people to be able to come up to you like that, be starstruck? You know,
No. In fact,
that was a solid no.
I started in the industry. I did not know about the 5 foot rule. So I started at KNBC television on a television show. And I walk up to the elevator and the producer of my show, the producer, I'd only worked there a couple of days or maybe even a week. And I walk up and I stood next to him and I said, hey, Gil. And I tapped him on the shoulder and he went like, and I go, oh, did I do something wrong? And he's like, you don't know the 5 foot rule. And I go, what? And he goes,
Mhm.
and I looked around and everybody else was 5 feet back from him waiting for the elevator. And I went, oh, that's crazy. He goes, oh, I agree. you know, and it was just too funny that, people stand so far, a certain amount back unless you're a fanatic fan. And yeah, so it's kind of, or stare at you while you're eating, that kind of stuff. So, 'cause I've been to lunch with celebrities and you look up and you're going to take a bite and all these people are staring at you and you're like, how do you eat? You know? So, yeah, it is a phenomenon to me is a con as opposed to pro and
Yeah.
con. So I like my privacy. I like to be able to walk out on the street. I believe Kevin Bacon did that once, right? In total costume. He wanted to walk through something where nobody recognizes you. And he did that and then felt like, yeah, I'd rather have people saying hi to me. That was his response. But I think there's a video out there somewhere of him talking about it. But
Okay.
yeah, I'm like, no, I get shocked when someone walks up to me and says, you want to autograph your book? I've had people do that, but out of nowhere. And I'm like, sure, can I take a picture with you? Oh, what kind of hair day am I having? Yeah. So, you know,
Oh, I love your authenticity. My podcast, Unleash Her, is all about really just finding your true, authentic self. And I love that. You can go up to anyone. You're like, they're just a person like you and I, and your confidence, it really shows the way that you speak and everything. And is that something that you've had to work on, or did you always have that confidence?
no, I had a lot of fear
Mm,
in the back of my head because my mother was narcissistic. So I didn't get that kind of support to build a confidence. I did go through therapy, and worked on I had my, how do I put this? My epiphany. I was going through my cancer. I told everybody that I knew that if you do chemo, I turned my phone off on the days I had chemo because you don't know when you're going to fall asleep. Eventually, it might be 3 in the morning, it might be 4 in the morning. And I wanted to sleep all the way through. I didn't want people calling me at 8 in the morning. So I would turn my phone off. My mom called me on one of those episodes and started yelling in the message, how dare you? You don't want to answer the phone. It was
Mm.
ugly. And I actually took it. That's when I set up a therapist and took that phone message, kept that phone message and played it. And the therapist said, you need to get away from your mother. I know she's blood, but you need to step away from your mother. And that's when I really learned, you choose who's in your life outside of blood, but made sure I picked healthy friendships. I have great friends. I really do. I like to brag. And in fact, they're in my books. And you might want to ask about that. And so I had to learn to change my thinking in my head. Your self speech that you tell yourself.
Yeah.
And it's an exercise. It's not easy,
Yeah.
but you have to do it.
Therapy helps with all of that. Whatever kind of therapy it may look like, and even it could be even a life coach that you have or whatever it may be, like, or a mentor, you find you surround yourself with people that lift you up. Yeah. And
Absolutely.
and that's what one of my mentors, Bob Proctor, would say, you just don't stay as long. You
Yeah,
just
yeah.
limit your time, if it's people that you can't um completely, move out of your life, or you don't feel that's necessary, but yeah, just limit your time.
Right.
Watch who you surround yourself with. Very, very good advice.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, okay, so do your friends know? You said something about them being in your books or something. And do they know if they're in there, and do you change their names?
Let them pick their new last name. I say, okay, I'm writing this
Okay.
book,
Yeah.
and what would you like your last name to be for this character? And they give me a new last name, and then they're in my book. And what's nice about that is I've got a full round character. I know their birthdays, I know what they like to eat, I know what they don't like to eat. I know, you know all that. You don't have to create this character out of fiction. So in my Dr. Callie Worthy, Doris is one of my best friends, and Adele is one of my best friends, and they're in the books. And so I definitely use people that I know, and even friends of friends. I'll say, hey, do you want to be in my book? Give me a new last name. The only one I didn't change is Ty Herndon, the country singer, the award-winning country singer. He is actually Ty Herndon in Ice Cream Moments. So he's a good friend of mine. And but everybody else has a different last name. So
Oh my gosh. Okay.
yeah, it
All right.
works for,
That's cool.
yeah,
I
it
love
works for
that.
them. There
Yes, yes, it does.
But
This is
depending on what kind of book you're writing, because there's I might be writing a scene and I'll go, well, gosh, Doris knows it's her, but this is a love scene. Does Doris want, this in my book? And I'll call and say, hey, I'm writing the scene. What do you think? And they're like, go for it. So yeah.
right. How fun. Oh my gosh. I love this. And this has been a great interview. I love your energy. You have good energy. Very authentic, easy to talk to. Thank you for sharing all of that with us. And is there anything else that you want to share?
Yeah, well, since we're talking about being healthy and strong
Yeah.
people, one of my sayings is do everything that you do with the intent of love. That includes even filling your lungs with oxygen. Do it with love. You can't go wrong. You can't go wrong. People might wonder, ask you what's in it for you or why are you doing this? I just do it because that's how that's my love language, is to help people. So, yep.
I love that. And I say that all the time. And I know it sounds so it sounds simple, but it's not. Like it's really when you do come from a place of love and that authenticity, everything just flows. It's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure. You're great to have a conversation with.
Thank you. Hey, I was just telling someone earlier, I said it must have been my all of my years of hairstyling, that one-on-one that helped me develop this. Mm.
Absolutely could be that or a bartending, one of the two.
Yeah, well, that one I haven't done. So, yes.
Both are sitting down and talking to people about their lives. Yes.
Right, exactly. Aw, thank you so much, Kay. Hey guys, make sure that you go to Kay's website, KA Oliver, right? .com.
Correct.
Yep.
Yes, his whole name Kay. Yeah,
Okay.
Kaya
Yes,
Oliver.
go check that out if if you have the desire to write a book. She has tons of information for you, absolutely free. I appreciate that. I appreciate you sharing your story with us. This was truly my pleasure. Thank you. And everyone, make sure to subscribe, like, and follow my podcast. And if you're not on YouTube, jump over to YouTube so you can see our faces too. So, thank you again. Thank you again. Have a wonderful day. And until next time, see you all
Thank you.
later. Thank you.